Hello to the Promethean Pulse with your education consultant, Allie. Today, I'm going to take a moment to show you how you can invite your Promethean panel into a Microsoft Teams meeting, and the students who are viewing in your Teams meeting will be able to see the interaction with the Promethean panel in real time. So this would be wonderful for either a remote or a hybrid learning situation. So as you can see right now, I am in my Teams calendar, and this is my meeting that I am going to join. And so I'm going to join that meeting. And hello. So you can see me in my meeting as well as my learning space behind me. And so behind me, you can see my panel. And I'm going to show you quickly how to download your Teams app and then invite your team, your panel into your meeting. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my unified menu. And from my unified menu, I'm going to choose my locker. And from my locker, I already have Teams downloaded onto my panel. But if you don't, you're able to do that by going into the Promethean store. And in the Promethean store, you can choose search and choose MS Teams. The other way to do this would be on Chromium and go to the Microsoft website and be able to access the Teams download from there. So you can see here that I have Microsoft Teams. Now, when you come to Microsoft Teams, you will be able to download it. Since it's already downloaded into my panel, I do not have that option, but you'll have the option to download. So go ahead and take a moment to download that Teams app if you do not already have it. So then I'm going to go back, and now I'm going to access that Teams app. So if you're waiting for it to download, you can go ahead and pause and come back. So I chose my unified menu from the bottom here this time. I'm going to go to my locker, and I am going to find my Teams icon. Mine's on my second page. Then when you click Teams, you'll need to log into your Teams account. When I click Teams, I'm already logged into my Teams account, so it will automatically show up. So here we are on my district Teams account or my Office Teams account, my Office 365 account, which I've logged into using my Office 365 work credentials. And so you can see here that all of my teams will show up, and it will have all of my chat. I can go into my calendar, and on my calendar, you can see all of the meetings. So over here, you can see the meeting that we're in right now because it's time for that meeting, and it says join. So I am going to click to join that meeting. My video is off and my mic is off. The sound will be coming through my device, which I'm going to turn that device sound down because you will get some feedback on some machines. I am on just my regular school laptop, my regular district laptop, using just the regular webcam for my Teams, as well as my regular microphone. I don't have a special microphone on it at all. And I'm about probably maybe 10 feet away from my, my computer. So you can hear the sound is wonderful. You can see the picture is wonderful. So you can imagine that this would be kind of a real learning situation for your students that are in hybrid and are at home or are in remote. You're in remote learning right now in your home. And so this is a wonderful opportunity to invite those students in. Now, why would I want to do this? Well, you can see on my screen right here, there is a glare from my light, which you're going to get in the classroom. And so when I turn that off and I turn off my other lamp, okay, well, now I'm in the dark. So we want to make sure that our students at home can see us well enough to know that we're there. We don't want to have the lights off in our classroom, but also be able to see our screen. So when I do it this way, I'm going to get glare from the lights in the room. But when I choose join now, and so my device is connecting. So you could see if I choose participants here, you can now see that I'm the only one in there. It doesn't show my board as a different name. My panel is joined as me. So I have control over that panel and everything it does. Okay, so from here, I am going to be able to invite my panel into the meeting by sharing the screen. So imagine you're a student at home and you're watching and you're able to see me interact with the other students through this view. However, you're also going to be able to see what anyone is doing on the panel when I bring up my taskbar here on my Teams. Notice it is not in my my menu, but it's actually in my Teams, just like it would be if I were on this on my computer. Then I'm going to click the sleeping snowman, those three dots, the ellipse. And I am going to choose, and it might be too small for you to see it over here, but I can choose share. And then I'm going to choose share my screen. Now what you're looking at is my screen on my panel. Well, that's no big deal. That's just my Bitmoji, right? Well, here's where the magic comes. I go to my unified menu and I can share anything that I'm doing with my students on that unified menu. And if you'll notice, you can still see me down here. So your students would be able to get the feel of being in the classroom with you, as well as seeing exactly what you're doing on your panel. So let's say that I'm working in third grade and I'm doing the introduction of arrays. So you just saw that as I wrote on the board, on the whiteboard, on my panel, it showed up in my Teams. So I can say, okay, so an array is rows and columns. And I can go on to teach the lesson using my panel, and the students in my classroom would be able to join in watching my panel. And I can do that with any of the apps that I have on my panel. And so you can see when I click home, the panel comes back to home. When I want to annotate on something I have on the board, you can see that happens in real time on my panel and shows up for my students in my Teams meeting. And so you can see how this would really bring in those students that are in your Teams meeting remotely at home into that learning experience where they can still see me, they can still hear me, but they can also see whatever it is I'm doing on the panel. So I just invited my panel into the meeting, and then my panel did the screen sharing. So I could, if I had students that I was screen sharing with, I could have them come into my ActivPanel screen share. I could choose them. That would then show up, and I could have my students at home be part of my screen share, as well as my students in my classroom. And so this sharing through the Teams app opens me up for a lot of different possibilities in my classroom. I have used this in meetings that I've been in with teachers. I've used it to share agendas that we're sharing in the meetings. I've used it to actually write out a whiteboard, since we're remote as well, to write out a whiteboard where we can share ideas and web it, which it's a real time. It makes it a lot easier. I know that there's some lag sometimes on some of the whiteboard apps on our computers. I can also then, any of the apps I have in my locker, for instance, I can bring up Chromium, and Chromium will then share, and I can go to classflow.com. I can log into, I can deliver here from my panel, and then I can send out a card to the students and have them respond and have that on my panel as well. And so the possibilities for inviting your panel in to your Teams meeting are endless. It's as endless as your panel's power is. And so then, to get rid of this sharing, I want to go back to where they're just seeing me. I simply go back to my unified menu. I click on my locker. I choose Teams. That brings me back to where I was. I join that meeting again, and I just click Stop Presenting. And then it comes back to me again. And so it is an extremely powerful usage of our panel. Also, you notice that when you write, and I'm going to hang up here so I can go back, you may have noticed, for instance, when you write on your whiteboard, it shows up backward on your computer. But when you invite that that panel into your meeting, it shows exactly what you are doing. And so it's a wonderful use of your panel and a wonderful benefit of using Promethean Power in your classroom during the remote or the hybrid model, as well as if you might have some students who choose to stay home even after we return in person. And it gives you a way to connect with those students and be able to keep them engaged with their classmates. I hope that helped. I hope that gave you some great ideas about how you can connect with your students in the remote or the hybrid model with your Promethean panel.